Yeah, we're gonna flash you with a phone, and then that means, hurry up.
Get through it.
Yeah, but have fun. Other rules? We got other rules?
Yeah, white people, you still can't say it. Just kind of keep that in mind. By the way, I mean the word nigga. I hope that was clear.
50 years from now, man. I say, and based on what I've heard from someone who was here 50 years ago to now, and where I see that things can go, I have an optimistic view, but
A lot of people who start off at these shows, they continue to do stand-up. They're still out here doing stand-up. I hope it dies though. I straight up hope fuck No Whites Allowed. I hope it dies. Where is the place for people like us? Where is the place for people with darker skin? Where is the place for people from the hood? Why? So Malcolm and me, we were just like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's start a show for people of color. Why not? Fuck it. All right, let's knock knock.
Who's there?
Not a black actor who won an Oscar.
The other one is about Leonardo DiCaprio had just won an Oscar, and we were saying we were starting to think had he not won, maybe he was black.
Yeah, Leo was black. We won that year. And we did. And so next semester, we started planning for this show. Didn't have a title yet. We were gonna call it Colored Comedy, and I was like, you know what? No, the title should hit hard. It should smack you across the face. And so I called it No Whites Allowed.
Hi, my name is Amber. I'm a junior BMA. I usually swallow, but sometimes I do. I mean, if I come, then I come, but I don't really care.
My first time doing stand-up was very nerve-wracking. I was very nervous. I did not have a lot of positive encouragement before stepping on stage. But I was like, I can prepare for this. I can make this happen. I was so confident in myself. Surprisingly enough, I went up there and I just started talking and people started laughing. And I was just like, all right, this is not that bad. I think I can actually do this. And then next thing you know, it was over.
What made me want to create NWA? Because there wasn't a place for people of color to do stand-up and just have fun. I knew a lot of funny people of color, really funny people of color who would never do a typical open mic at Emerson because it's full of white dudes.
First time I did NWA was the first time I did stand-up. I'd been a freshman who was here for a semester, and I was a comedic arts major. I remember Evan asking me, and just the fact that he was asking me specifically, it meant a lot to me. It was a lot of just trying new experiences in a new place, and I was really excited with what happened with it.
So I've been mixed race positive for about 18 years now. Yeah, I live with it every day, and it never changes. It always stays the same. Same black parent, same white parent every day.
We may have ways that they can go about building a community. Yo, I tried to keep it together. That bird scared the fuck out of me. Yo, chill out, my nigga, deadass. What is wrong with you? Sorry about that. What was the question again?
I actually dealt with a racist situation recently. I was walking through the commons, I was trying to get to school. This homeless guy, he asked me, he said, hey, you got any change? I actually didn't have it. So I said, no, man, I don't have any change. I kept walking, and he was like, house nigga. He called me a house nigga. He called me a house nigga. I almost called him a houseless nigga, but I thought that was too much of a
Yo, I don't think I've ever been that nervous in my life doing something. the amount of wild shit that was going on in my stomach, getting on stage to try to make people laugh was by far the most difficult and nerve-wracking thing I've ever had to do. Only thing that I remember going through my brain was, I think I can do this show though. If there was any place that I'm gonna try this, it's gonna be here, because I know that I can at least get something out of it and it won't be too bad. Anywhere else, I definitely wouldn't have got on stage. And so that's why I have a fond appreciation not a fond appreciation, I have a great appreciation for Evan in NWA, because I'm not a stand-up comedian if that show doesn't exist.
I'm at a 540 right now. I'm not doing that bad. I'm gonna get 620. It turns out Credit Karma actually is free.
Would you have tried comedy for the first time at Inside Joke ever?
No.
I know what you're thinking, like, Natalie, we own white people jokes. Like, what do we need to take them back from? I want to take them back from white people. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but white people have co-opted white people jokes.
Are you surprised at some of the criticism of Inside Joke?
Am I surprised at some of the criticism? No, not at all. Because I do stand-up mics in Boston, and it's the same shit. It's just like a bunch of white dudes taking up the room and supporting their friends and not supporting anyone else.
You'll have probably at the average Inside Joke 2 or 3 women out of 16, 15 performers, and the all women show is just like 10, 12 just women performers, which is just like, you have to ask yourself, like, what happens to these other 10 women? Like, why aren't they doing stand-up at Inside Joke on every other night?
She just kind of looked confused. Probably just had never met a stupid Asian person before.
I feel like I don't consider myself a part of the comedy community here because I am not really willing or have the desire to venture outside of NWA or the opportunities that Hire or even Flawless Brown has offered to me.
There's nothing else like it, and
like peanut butter doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we get that? Can we get? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, if you're the Inside Joke president, you know, what exactly do you do to fix that? You know.
I've had female friends who have who are hilarious.
My celebrity lookalike goes from like a Kathy Griffin wig on top of a plank of wood to Louis C.K.'s forehead.
Who have left some of these Boston mics feeling like shit.
It definitely does have to do a lot with the fact that it's run by white male dominated. And even the white women, I don't know, I just struggle. It's like I deal with that stuff in class all the time, sometimes on projects. When choosing my extracurriculars, when choosing what I do outside of class, I'm not gonna put myself in positions to further that struggle.
I think that a lot of people who do some of these mics aren't funny, but they're white dudes and they have friends. And so their friends laugh at the shit they say, and that makes them feel like they have power and their egos fucking explode because of that. There are good cops, right? There are bad cops. And I don't wanna generalize, but it's hard not to, right? Like, fuck the police. So, low-key, fuck Inside Joke.
So what, just anything? Like, should I do the opening for the dark?
Oh yeah, I was working with something for that.
Hip hop, in my opinion, is NWA. The vehicle to move anything nowadays that is speaking the counterculture, but also speaking experience. The thing about hip hop is that hip hop has 4 pillars, and all of those speak to oppression. All of those speak to certain components in black culture that, you know, we've seen hip hop grow and expand. You know, hip hop has definitely morphed in, what, 40 years? You know, and the direction that hip hop is going, it is the one thing that always just shatters my expectation every time. And it's as important, I believe, as anything that is pushing away the status quo and bringing in the counterculture.
I've been in the shadows, now I'm climbing from the deep. Yeah, I'm addicted to the peaks. Gotta get it, just my reach. And you know it's not a car, motherfucker, this is heat. Yeah.
was for people of color, and hip hop is a genre that many times portrays people of color in a light that audiences don't typically see, and that's the same thing that comedy does. Comedy and hip hop are very similar. We'd be doing a disservice if we didn't have hip hop.
It's literally harping on one of the most iconic hip hop groups of all time. NWA, the Niggas with Attitude group, they were known for their really expressive and raw takes in the industry. They said what they wanted, they said how they wanted to say it, and I think NWA embodied that. We were gonna do things the way we wanted to, we weren't gonna apologize for much, and we were still gonna get people to come out and come to the show. Now granted, you have to have hip hop at these shows. Like you're occupying a room that's full of brown people, full of avid hip hop listeners. It was important to get artists like Malachi and Rob and Drew on stage, Naveen performing, so that it felt like, oh, this makes sense.
Only time I say shit, pull up in a spaceship. Yeah, you know you hate this, the way I fucking make it. I'm the sensation in this nation. Give you any indication that I'm blazing and I'm Asian and the throne is for the taking. So is it I'm breaking, yeah, I'm smoking on Jamaican. And you know I'm fucking faded, yeah, you know I'm fucking faded.
Not to say other genres of music wouldn't have worked on stage, but niggas is not coming to NWA to listen to country. Like, it's just not gonna happen, so yeah.
This habanero flavor. Yo! Okay, as a matter of fact, maybe let's just take this, let's just move this out of here.
It was like something like that.
Any fucking way. We're gonna have a good time.
Hell yeah.
All right, higher on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Higher is NWA. Because Higher was made in the same circumstances that NWA was made. Evan is my bro, you know, and from day one when he came up with that idea, I was right there with him, you know. And I think that that idea of brotherhood and camaraderie is something that speaks about Higher and also speaks about NWA. Higher was as much a part of NWA as NWA is as much part of Higher.
Yeah, no, that was like a hostile takeover. Like, I didn't choose Higher, Higher chose me. Higher was created by my homies J-Rue and Drew. And no matter what, they were gonna be involved in the show. Didn't matter if they were with Higher or not, like they were gonna be involved. It just so happened that they had an organization that would allow NWA to expand.
When Drew and I sat and talked about it, it was a no-brainer to kind of talk to Evan about being a part of NWA and how can we help NWA and how can NWA help us.
Listen, NWA 4 was the biggest NWA and it was potentially one of the biggest comedy shows at Emerson College, and that would never happen without Higher and the help of the people.
Like I said, going to that first show, I saw something.
So you're not going, Evan?
And Higher was just starting, he was just getting off the ground. It was more so still an idea than it was anything concrete. And we understood that NWA is what we want to do from an organizational standpoint. We want to galvanize people of color here on campus to be a part of things, to get access to opportunities, to go beyond like the limits that they had already given themselves, because part of being an artist here is, and that's for anybody, but I think in particular for people of color and marginalized groups, is you give yourself limits. You tell yourself what you can't do. We wanted to, with Higher, encourage people to go beyond those limits that you might have given yourself. Say that I will direct something. I will try stand-up comedy. I will produce something. I will curate some type of content that is galvanized and appreciated here on campus.
When I came to Boston, I realized it's a very white city. But you know what's whiter than Boston? Emerson.
What is Emerson's biggest issue as it relates to ethnicity and diversity?
When I first started working about 10 years ago, I had students come to, well, a student came to me and say, how come there's not many more languages than just Spanish or French? How come there's not more classes that are geared towards Black or Hispanic in media? She noticed it. She saw it on the paper. She wanted to be able to talk about it in class. She wanted a place and a space to be able to do that. She wanted a teacher to help her, to guide her through what she wanted to do, but she couldn't find it.
It's sort of a cycle, if you will. So by not having students of color here, by not having faculty and staff members of color here in significant numbers, or for that matter even in moderate numbers, we don't attract individuals from those backgrounds because folks don't see themselves here. They don't see this place as some place that is for them and that is home for them.
Well, the main issue, and one which gives me the most pain actually, is we have students who feel that they are not full citizens in the college.
I'm not angry, but I'm tired. Not even just tired, exhausted.
That their agency is incomplete, that their experiences are incomplete, that they are not able to bring their best selves to the college in terms of learning and growth.
We are the ones who are battling it out every day trying to make this school a better place.
And that's the big takeaway. And if you're distracted by a lot of these issues, it makes it really hard for you to learn and to grow.
And I try not to be so focused on it and conscious of it. I try to just live my life, but
it's like an everyday thing. It's like an added element to your life.
People look at you, people have expectations of you, and you can kind of feel that judgment, even when it's not said.
You can't, recognize whether or not it's intent, like that's the intent of your professors or the intent of your classmates to make you feel like you don't belong. But that's ultimately how you're gonna feel.
We pay for education, not for discrimination. We pay for education, not for discrimination.
You're not supposed to be a political activist and a student. You're supposed to be just a student, but sometimes you turn into that just based off your experiences.
What did you take away from these students' protests?
Well, I took away a lot, knowing that these are students of goodwill and sincere, that they are doing everything they can do to push the administration and the college to do better.
There are faculty, and for that matter, there are staff who just don't understand what it is to be a person of color.
There are faculty members and staff members that if they don't have a certain understanding or feel like they have a responsibility in helping the cultural aspect of this community, not just the academic, because I feel like, especially with faculty members, they come in with the ideas like, look, I'm here for academics, I'm here to teach, I'm here to impart whatever wisdom that I feel like I need to impart, and that's it. Not understanding that there's a lot more that they need to bring to the campus, and the things that they teach and how they teach it affects all students.
Every semester, there's at least one situation where I have to teach someone. There's at least one class where I have to be the one educating. It's just a reflection of our society.
So when you go to an art school like this, being a person of color is hard because you have to really put on your bifocals to find a space where you can get access to opportunities and prosper and feel like you're around people that share similar experiences and common interests on things.
It's an interesting bubble. It's a white school in a white city in a white part of the country, right? So.
This is Emerson. We are Emerson. At the end of the day, I'm angry, and I'm allowed to be angry.
And I'm gonna run for office, and I'm going to heal my hometown, just like I'm going to try to heal Emerson College.
We see these things happening, and if you don't say anything, you are just as bad.
We occupied the faculty assembly because we are calling for cultural competency change that has not occurred in the 2 years since the 2015 protests.
We carve out communities for ourselves, and then we fight tooth and nail.
We love y'all, but we know that more can be done.
I am tired of my brothers being senselessly killed. Every 28 hours, I lose a brother, a son, a friend, and a little piece of myself. Demonizing blackness creates
respectability. Y'all some punks, fulfilling your color quota by asking all the minorities to perform at once, thinking that we should be grateful, be nice, stay in line, be thankful. We are not your checked box for diversity. Inclusion goes further than
cisgendered white male host alongside a blonde, a redhead, and a not too thick,
but not too thin,
not too dark,
and not too light black woman.
This is not an ovation.
And the Evie goes to Andrew C. Lawrence, AIDS Problem.
Jose Garcia y Evan McDonald for Pop the Block.
Ty Grayson for Aaron.
Malachi McDonald, Night Shift.
And you know what? You know, the industry needs to change, and we're the ones that are going to change it.
Wow. All glory and honor to God.
Thank you to every artist of color who attends this school and persists and persists and persists. Thank you very much.
This award is for the many young black adults who could very well be in my shoes today on this Evie stage.
Because so few folks have gotten through, if you will, and we know that it's incredibly important for us to see ourselves represented in positions, certainly from the time that we're children, small children on, because it helps to expand our imagination of what's possible. And again, I think that is sort of the biggest struggle and the biggest challenge is, I've heard it called an imagination battle. We lack the ability to imagine truly what's possible for us beyond the status quo.
I thought this was like a good time to maybe workshop some characters I've been working on. I call this first one Squeebo, and it goes a little like this. Hey, it's me, Squeebo! Thank you.
And I feel like I identify as a bisexual instead of a lesbian because I can only watch like one season of Glee. I was like, I don't really need any more.
I seen the dude on Twitter put, I don't care if I didn't have any arms or legs, I would still stand for the national anthem. I was like, you don't know how legs work. And
I'm afraid of a few things. I'm afraid of playing basketball with my boys and my boy dunking on me and his dick smacking me in the face. And then it smelling like something I care about, like pineapples and my girlfriend, you know?
I think that's what's been sort of the success of most comedians, from Red Fox to
Chris Rock,
Moms Mabley,
Dave Chappelle is great,
Richard Pryor.
I love Richard Pryor.
Kanye's dead to me.
In terms of the way that they viewed life, and being able to turn something that is pretty tragic and hopefully turn it into a point.
I also don't understand white people who are advocates for animals who are going extinct but don't understand Black Lives Matter.
Where you can laugh at it and then hopefully change things for the better.
It's satire. Satire is about holding up a light to society, and so that everybody can see it from a particular perspective. And so comedy is just a great way of doing that.
Fuck that, all lives matter. But she's wearing like a Save the Tigers t-shirt. So I would just walk up to her and be like, fuck tigers. All animals, bitch.
It's about waking people up and getting them to see life from a different, or aspects of life from a different perspective.
50 years from now. Man. I say, and based on what I've heard from someone who was here 50 years ago to now, I almost feel like it's 2% better. And that's me being optimistic. And I'm almost excited about it being 2% better, because it's like, okay, cool. You know, I feel like at least some things will change. I feel like there's parts of the environment will change. There's parts of the community that will look different than it was in 2018 to when it's going to be in 2068, which is crazy to say. But I feel like it could be, I feel like, as weird as it sounds, 2% better.
Yeah, no, fuck NWA. Fuck it. I hate it. I don't hate it. I love NWA. But I want it to die. I think that when NWA dies, well, let me not say that. I want it to die. But I want it to die for a specific reason.
This place, if it's going to be sort of a microcosm of what we hope that the world is going to be, this community needs to do a better job.
Right now, we need NWA. We need that place for comedians of color to come and just feel comfortable.
Keep getting first timers on that stage. I think that's different, man. I think that that's a different thing. When you hear so many of the people that we've gotten to get on stage for their first time ever, that speaks to how inclusive and safe we created that space, man. We deserve this, and we're gonna have this.
But I pray that one day we don't need that, because Emerson is just so inclusive. The Emerson comedy bubble is just so inclusive. And when that happens, I want NWA to die. I don't want it to exist anymore. All right, at least I want it to change into something else. I want it to accept everybody, right? But, you know, that's a pipe dream.
I really hope that, because I anticipate it's gonna happen at some point. Someone at some point is gonna make a comment. It's called No Whites Allowed. At some point, one of the higher ups is gonna say, you got a dead dad. And I just hope that whoever's in power, whoever's in a position of power for us, for students like us at that time, stands their ground and lets this campus know that.
There's so many funny people of color. You know, it's a question I think of every day. How many Pablo Picassos, how many Van Goghs, how many Shakespeares did we lose because of slavery, right? Because of the Inquisition, because of colonization. I feel like with NWA, we're allowed to reach into this pool and pull out talent. And I feel like we need to do that in more places than Emerson. I want it to expand outside of Emerson. If we can get a No Whites Allowed at BU, if we get a No Whites Allowed at NYU, UCLA.
NWA is probably one of the, if not the most culturally significant thing that happened on this campus ever. Now granted, I don't know how long Emerson's been around. It's been like 100 years? All right, we'll say over 100 years. I guarantee you NWA is probably the most culturally significant thing that happened on this campus. And I want it to remain there, and I want people to recognize it as such. It's gonna take some time, but I think when it's all said and done, people are gonna look back and say, yo, there was a show on a campus with like 80% of the white population, like students were white, called No Whites Allowed, that was doing crazy numbers and premiered some of the best comedians on campus. That's lit. I fuck with that. Told y'all I was getting this shit. Oh, they're not even out here anymore. They're gone.
Yeah. I'm heavy-headed with the shit that I creep. She never said it, but she thinks I'm a freak. I never fret it, but it's cold in the east. I'm a young beast headed for the runway. Always said that we would get together one day. Writing bars and getting better in a Hyundai. All these other rappers looking at me hungry. Yeah, I'm far from luxury. No paper tag, Gucci bag in my Humvee. No A-list stars, handprints on my concrete. No fawns and dawns at the palm tree. These stars are staunchy. Yeah, my rhymes are raunchy. Half the people in the back be the paparazzi, but they popping off like the cops that shot me. Yeah, don't count on a star to turn his back for ya. Have the fuckers in rap, won't spend cash on ya. Got a hell of a mind and an ass on ya. I just got a couple tracks and a rack on them. Racked out about half and I'm back on them. Yeah, I'm back on them. Yeah, I trust you, baby. That's all the facts in the hustle, baby. When we fucking, it's rough, it's a tussle, baby. I don't fuck with crazy, but she fuck with me. I'm the craziest motherfucker between the sun and Venus. I'm a sold out genius. Yeah, I'm far from luxury, so don't fuck with me. Yeah, don't count on a star to turn his back for ya. Half the fuckers in rap won't spend cash on ya. Got a hell of a mind and an ass on ya. Yeah, I got a couple tracks and a rack on them. Racked out about half and I'm back on them.
I just want to apologize on behalf of myself and my ignorance
And higher.
and highest ignorance.
And No Whites Allowed.
And No Whites Allowed.
Affiliates.
We're not using this.
No.
No, great, definitely not.
Excellent.
Yeah, no.